You've probably already seen the reviews of the new M3 and M4, the G80 model, new for 2021. Now I should make it clear that I have not driven nor tested either of those models, so my thoughts here are based on the information that you already can find publicly, and my own thoughts and experiences of driving fast, fun cars. With that said, I'm not sure that the new M3 and M4 are cars that I'm quite sold on as being the best driver's car, something that you could definitely argue the last gen F80, well, reasonably was. Of course, we will get into styling in a minute, but I want to start off with the reported driving feel and, well, engine and drivetrain. The S58 B30T0 engine that BMW are using in the M3 and M4, which actually can also be found in the X3M and X4M for the new models for 2020-2021. That is a new engine for those model years and comes in two flavors. You can either get the 480 PS model, which is the sort of base model non-competition spec, or if you go with the competition versions of those cars, you get 510 PS. Now, I'm not entirely sure whether there's any hardware differences between the competition engine and the standard 480 horsepower one, and if there isn't, then I'm pretty sure that people who buy the normal M3 and M4 will end up finding their way to a tuners to remap it to enable those extra ponies. Either way, it's still a very respectable amount of power to have in an M3. It's more than the last generation, which I think was about 50 or so more, depending on which model you go with. And that was still a 3-litre twin-turbo straight six, but this time it's mated to either a 6-speed manual in the standard version, that's an option there, or with the competition pack, you can only get it with a ZF 8-speed torque converter automatic. That is also an option on the standard version, the non-competition pack, but that's something that you should be able to choose from on that, whereas, like I said, on the competition, it's the ZF or nothing else. The trouble with that is that, at least at the time of filming and in the UK, it doesn't seem like you can buy the M3, the new one, without it being the competition version. And that's kind of a problem, because, well, you can only get it with a ZF 8-speed with a torque converter, and from the reported driving feel of those cars, the torque converter isn't quite the right fit. I think if you get it in a manual, it will be a much better, much more lively car, but the general consensus has been that the ZF 8-speed lacks a little bit of soul, lacks a little bit of driving feel that you are missing out, that you get with the F80 but not with the new G80. Then there's also the price. There is a massive price hike here, going from the last gen, which started at £56,000, give or take, and the competition pack at around 61. But this one, the competition starts at £75,000. You're paying £14,000 more for a car that, let's face it, literally everybody in the world thinks looks hideous and, according to the experts, has a more muted and less characterful driving feel. And if you decide to option it up with the Ultimate Pack and the M Carbon Pack, then, well, you're going to be spending just shy of £100,000. You can buy a used McLaren 12C for £70,000, and that's an actual supercar. I know which one I would rather. And on top of all of that, reports are suggesting that you might be getting nickeled and dimed for features that are already built into the car, like adaptive headlights and heated seats, through a new subscription model that, well, let's face it, is horrific to see in the car world. Admittedly, this has only been a problem on the 5 Series cars of the newer generation, but the fact that things like adaptive headlights, even already fitted to the car, has to be a paid optional extra and for unlimited use, which implies there could be limited use or perhaps a limited time frame and then you have to pay them again, well, that's not great. And then, of course, there is the styling. I haven't spoken to nor heard a single positive opinion on how this thing looks. For me personally, I think it looks like you're driving around with big rabbit teeth on the front, like you're driving around in Bugs Bunny's head. And the closest thing that I've heard to a positive opinion is, well, you shouldn't care because you're sitting in it and driving it and not looking at it from the front. And that's not a very good thing to say. Also, the this is how it is, deal with it. Still not a great opinion. And so for me personally, I'm definitely not a fan. The thing that bugs me the most is that they actually bulged the bonnet, or the hood as Americans would call it, to fit the new grille in. And they also creased the edge of the bonnet so that it doesn't line up with the windowsill trim. As Chris Harris from Top Gear pointed out, the trim line on the crease on the bumper or bonnet doesn't line up with the window trim, and it really should. But it doesn't, and that would really bug me. I can't really explain why, but it's one of those things, like, I really don't understand why they have this obsession with big kidney grills. I absolutely despise the look of the new 7 and 5 series, or X5s especially. They look, for me anyway, horrific. And it's not like I don't like big grills. I own an Audi S4. This has a basically entirely open front grille. Except because it's one nice piece and it's well designed, it doesn't look out of place. But with those, well, I think it really does. Of course, the styling is entirely personal preference, and so if you do like it, fair enough. But when you combine the styling with the price hike and the apparent lack of driving feel, at least from the automatic version, well, I start to wonder why you would buy one of those cars. I understand why they put the torque converter in the M5. That makes a lot more sense. That's a lot more of a cruiser, an autobahn muncher. But from something that's meant to be the ultimate track weapon, I'm not really sure why a torque converter automatic makes the most sense. With that said, as you can see by the title of this video, those are my thoughts, but I would love to hear yours in the comments down below. What do you think of the new M3 and M4? Are those cars that you would aspire to have yourself, or maybe actually go out and buy them? Or would you go with something else in a similar range, or is it just completely out of your price range? Feel free to let me know in those comments down below, and of course I would love to hear your thoughts on its styling too. Otherwise, that is pretty much it from me. Feel free to hit that subscribe button if you want more videos like this one on a weekly basis, and check out some more videos on the end cards. Maybe take a look at my Porsche Taycan thoughts video as well. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you on the next video.